This is the OnePlus Open, my favorite folding phone. It has a great camera, a nearly perfect build, fast software, and it's priced aggressively. And this is the new kid on the block, the Z Fold 6, where it's not much different than the Z Fold 5, but it's seen as the best foldable phone. Is this the year the phone gets dethroned by the OnePlus Open? Well, that's where I come in. Today we're going to compare these two phones head to head. Right off the bat, the Z Fold has had a price increase starting at $1,900 for 256 gigabytes of storage. There are trade-in offers and pre-order offers, and most likely will be heavily discounted if you buy from Samsung.com within a few months. Now, most people get on payment plans via carriers, and Samsung says the price increase is only a few extra dollars per month. I guess as we move through this video and you see the rest of my coverage, I'll let you decide if the extra dollars are valid. But anytime you increase the price and you're not increasing much hardware, it does rub people the wrong way. The OnePlus Open started off cheaper than the Z Fold at $1,700 with 512 gigabytes of storage. They also had trade-in offers too, and even had an offer if you trade in any phone, you get at least $200 off, which brings the price down to $1,500, which in my opinion, day one was kind of a steal for this flagship folding phone. The OnePlus Open came out last October, and since then it's gotten better with updates. The camera is better, battery life optimizations has gotten better, and I will say the software is more fine-tuned, but they didn't add some of the flex features that you see on the Z Fold. There are some apps where I would hope that the flex mode would work, but it doesn't. So how do these phones compare side by side? I think in the hand, the OnePlus camera makes it a little less comfortable to hold in the landscape orientation. But when opening it up in portrait, I don't have issues holding it at all. I think the form factor overall is better open and closed. The OnePlus is a bit bigger at 7.8 inches and the Z Fold is 7.6 inches. Now when they're closed, they're both 6.3 inches, but the aspect ratio is different, which gives the OnePlus Open a bigger size. And also it's a little bit wider too, which makes it easier to use when you don't have to open it. Although the OnePlus Open is built well, the Z Fold materials feels better. They have a new material called Armor Aluminum, and I absolutely love how it feels. The hinge on both are well designed, and the OnePlus Open has a spring that snaps into place, and the Z Fold is more stiff. But the OnePlus Open camera cluster is so big that it makes this phone rock on a table a lot more than the Z Fold does. So I would say both phones have some really strong points, but they also have some shortcomings as well. I do feel like we're a little ways away from having the perfect folding phone, but the hardware on both of these phones are really good. Now when watching videos, both screens are on natural mode. I found that the Z Fold is actually a tad bit too bright, like the brightness of it. In some areas, like on this leaf in this video, clipping really bad. Now I don't have the reference video, I don't know what exactly it looks like, but the OnePlus Open screen looks natural overall and this leaf is not clipping. That's just one example from what I was actually seeing. But overall, both screens are really good. They're very crisp, and yeah, they get extremely bright outside, so you can use these phones outside. Now, especially when you're gaming or something like that, it is a very bright, colorful poppy screen, and I love both screens. Also in classic OnePlus fashion, this phone does have high-end specs, especially with battery size and also charging. So my coach used to always tell me that the best ability is availability. And when it comes to battery life, availability is very important, especially a folding phone, because you're gonna use the mess out of it. You're gonna use the external display, the internal display. You're more prone to play games and do big tasks that you might only use a laptop or tablet for. The OnePlus Open has a slightly bigger battery than the Z Fold 6, but what you are gonna find is a charger brick in the box. Not just any charger brick, but we have a 67-watt charging brick. And I think charging speeds is actually more important than exact battery life, especially with these phones that can pretty much last all day. Z Fold 6 does have wireless charging, albeit it's not fast, but having wireless chargers around the house and around the office is really nice to just set the phone on and charge, whereas this phone just doesn't charge at all. Both phones do have reverse wireless charging, which allows you to charge one of your watches or even your buds too. When it comes to folding phones, there's a lot of cameras on board. You have the rear cameras, then you have the front camera, and then you have a camera in the inner display as well. And the cool thing about folding phones is that you can actually use the back camera as your front-facing camera too, using this screen right here. But being 100% honest, that is a little bit cumbersome, and it is hard to hold the phone that way and actually take a photo too. So I do care about the front-facing camera on folding phones. And so with the OnePlus Open, you do have a higher megapixel count with the front-facing camera, and it actually does matter. So cameras are a big topic this year too, where the Z Fold has not had many changes compared to last year. OnePlus has stepped up in the camera department a whole lot, and it shows. So these shots right here are going through the focal lengths. OnePlus has a higher megapixel count on the telephoto lens. So when you see this final shot, you can see there's more detail and color on this bridge. The next two shots comes down to personal preference, but I do feel that OnePlus gets a little bit more digital. So to me, the Z Fold looks better. But where the OnePlus truly shines is on skin tones, where Samsung still struggles. And honestly, I think they don't mind lightening my skin. Take that for what it's worth. This image of the flowers looks a lot better on Samsung, and I think that's the computational data, whereas Samsung knows it's a flower and really punches in the color. But overall, the images on the Z Fold is better, whereas OnePlus is very good, but still can appear to be a bit more digital. So this is the rear-facing camera on the OnePlus Open, and this is the rear-facing camera on the Galxay Z Fold 6. Let me know what you think. Let me know how they sound. It is like 6 p.m. here in Michigan. We have a little bit of background sound, so I wonder how the microphone is being picked up. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And now we are switching over to the front-facing camera, Galxay Z Fold 6, OnePlus Open. Once again, I do wonder how they look to you, and I wonder how they sound. So here's an audio sample. Once again, there's a lawnmower going on across the street, and also there's like birds chirping and stuff like that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Now, Samsung does have the under screen display, which is cool technology for video calls, and it works fine, but for taking photos, it's rough, and I don't recommend doing it. Now, once you take the photos, both phones have a lot of editing tools at your disposal, from filters to eraser tools and all the normal adjustments that you're used to seeing. But introduced back in January with the S24 is the generate button. This allows you to do things like move objects, erase objects, and now you can even draw objects. Like me right now, I'm sketching a bee on top of this flower. Now, Samsung knew what I was drawing, which is crazy, and it actually gave me a couple options. I don't see myself ever having a use for this, but it's cool tech nonetheless. And I will also say that there is some non-useful stuff too, like turning your face into a cartoon. I mean, I get it, generative AI is big and these companies are trying to figure out what to do with it. And Apple is doing it in the fall and Samsung just beat them to the punch. So I totally understand it. I may not use it, but it is available. Now, staying on software, I love how OnePlus runs with its Oxygen OS. It feels so smooth and floaty. Now, Samsung's One UI feels fast and snappy, but Oxygen OS just feels smooth. It's kind of hard to explain, it's definitely subjective, but once you use it, you'll see what I mean. But as far as performance day to day, they both run great. Although Samsung has the newest chip in it and OnePlus has last year's chip, I can't feel a difference. Maybe it's OnePlus having more RAM. I'm not sure, but both phones perform well after many games of Squad Busters, Battle Prime, Zen Zone Zero, editing videos on CapCut, and yeah. By the way, all three of those games are great. You should definitely play those. I also love how OnePlus handles multitasking. It is a beautiful view when you have 3 apps open in these little tabs and you just click whatever app you want. That is done so well. Now, Samsung can do more overall and you have many different modes and options for multitasking, but they could be a little bit more elegant. It just kind of feels like it's in these little squares and it just doesn't look great overall. You can also use the S Pen on the Fold, giving you a whole new layer of interaction with your device. Now, I'm not really an S Pen guy, and to be honest, I don't recall the last time I pulled out the S Pen for my S24, but it's still great to have choices, and I'm not gonna knock them for having choices. Now, as we see with all the competition, ecosystem is something that really matters, and OnePlus is actually building a pretty decent ecosystem, but Samsung is further along the ecosystem journey. But I will say, if you're ecosystem agnostic and you want to get into ecosystem, OnePlus has a very compelling offer with their new tablet, also their budget line phones, and also the OnePlus Watch, which is pretty solid as well. Samsung also has the Flex View and more apps, making it better to use for that form factor. Even in Samsung Labs, you can force any app you want to have a Flex View option, whereas the OnePlus Open doesn't have Flex View apps at all. Maybe they'll have a couple, I don't know. Also, Samsung promises 7 years of software and security patches, whereas OnePlus is promising only 4 years of updates. Samsung also offers one free screen protector replacement and also a discounted rate for a screen replacement if you were to damage your screen without an extra warranty. OnePlus requires you to buy their warranty service for any type of service at all that is outside of warranty. So here we come to my opinion of which phone is the best. And this is a tough one for me. I really love what OnePlus is doing with the Open. It's been my workhorse folding phone since it came out. The Z Fold 6 is great, but it reminds me of the Z Fold 5 so much that it doesn't feel like a new device. So my pick is still the OnePlus Open as the best foldable phone. Now, this is a new segment where I read your hottest and spiciest takes about the current topic, and I'm posting this on X, Threads, and also my YouTube community post. I asked you guys, what are your thoughts on these two devices, and what are things that you want to know? I want to give a big shout out to Nomophobia, J.E. Baker 2, Faithful Cool Yuli, and also A.T. Suko. Sorry I messed up those names, for chiming in on my post. Danielle said the front screen should be good enough to use just like non-foldables. Fold screen still makes me want to open it up even if I don't need to. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I don't like about folding phones, because you're opening them up more than you want to open them up to actually use the phone. Like, you want to be able to ideally have this phone that you only need to open it up when it's time to do something big. And I think that's what OnePlus and also the Pixel Fold actually does very well. Tulo Tech also chimed in saying Samsung is acting like no other foldables exist in the world. They used to be risk takers, but now seem content to just hang out in the slow lane while other companies eat their foldable lunch. Yeah, I've been saying that for a while, and a lot of other people too have been saying the same thing about Samsung, where they're such an innovation company and yet they're becoming very complacent with these phones. Even though they're like the leader when it comes to like Android AI or current AI that is out right now. Obviously, there's gonna be, Apple coming out in the fall and see what they have. But, they have been innovating on that aspect. But as far as hardware, we've been seeing the same thing year over year. And that gives other companies time to sort of catch up. And also Alan wants to know, is the screen slightly wider? Does that really matter? And I'll say for me, using this phone, and granted, it hasn't been a long time that I'm using the phone, I still haven't adjusted. Like, at first I was like, okay, the screen's wider, I feel better, but now it's sort of slipping back to the way it was, where I had a lot of typos and fat fingering a lot of things, and to the point where it's like, God, I should just open this thing up instead. I think OnePlus actually strike the perfect size for me, where I don't have to open it up as much. But for me, on the Z Fold 6, maybe some more time I'll get better at it. But right now, I still find myself still having to open it up. Once again, guys, thank you so much for chiming in. As always, I'll do my best to post what I'm working on, and maybe I'll respond to you in one of my next videos.